We love bringing you informative content here at Lucas. Today, not only will we discover the criteria that Dulux used to choose Colour of the Year 2020, but we will also delve deeper into what a contract partner relationship with Dulux means to our business and how it could benefit you. At a time when the construction industry needs to up its game, we are all about driving innovation with like-minded organisations.
Hello and welcome to the show. Now today we're joined on the couch by Duncan, Commercial Sustainability Manager from AkzoNobel. Welcome, Duncan.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Great to have you here. Now I know today we're going to do a little bit of a delve into the world of Dulux contract partnerships. Now I know, Danny, you know all about this. So before we get on to your take on the matter, Duncan, just for those people watching who aren't quite sure exactly what that is, just tell us in a nutshell.
So contract partnership is a scheme of approved and audited painting contractors in the UK. It came about from a number of trends that were concerning at the time. One was a kind of one-dimensional focus on cost. The skills shortage was an issue at the time, and yet we had clients who were continually asking, "Yeah, you make great paint, you make great products, but do you know any great painting contractors who can apply your great products?"
So Danny, how did you at Lucas first hear about this?
Well, contract partners is something that's been around a long time now. I don't know, Duncan, what would I be right in saying about 20 years?
Over 20 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
20 years. And it's evolved, actually. It's something that's evolved. And I've got to admit, in the early stages, we didn't take part in the scheme at the beginning because it was something that we weren't fully aware of exactly what it meant. But what I've found is that we're very much into long-term relationships and collaborative partnerships with everybody that we work with, whether that's clients or staff. And with our supply chain, that's really important. And this opened my eyes up to a way of working in a collaboration with a paint partner that allowed us to go beyond just telling our clients that we were putting paint on the wall. This was about going deep into service levels, quality levels, sustainability and things like that.
Yeah.
So it means a hell of a lot to us.
And as you say, sort of aligning that quality, the craftsmanship, the high standards on both sides of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. I think, from a client, a manufacturer and a contractor perspective, there are people who have common interests, common values. And at the time, we were also seeing painting and decorating. Painting and decorating can deliver can transform buildings and deliver amazing results. And yet, over time, that sort of valued craftsman feeling that people have about painting and decorating has diminished. It's become a kind of functional or being viewed as a functional discipline. But actually, I don't think that's the case, and I think we really passionately still want to champion professionalism in the industry and re-inject that craftsmanship that we used to see.
So when you first connected then, Danny, with Dulux for this scheme, what was the process you had to go through?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm very into quality assurance and things like that, so I'd already been through the ISO 9000 stuff in the early 90s, and I was really driven to do things at a high level. This is, if you like, you've got quality assurance, we've got health and safety, but this is bringing a real focus to the applied finish on site and the way that we do that in a way that was with a like-minded partner. I've got to say that. I mean, we have a free choice here as a contractor of who we work with, and the reason that we've chosen to work with Dulux and AkzoNobel is that there's a like-mindedness in terms of that desire to take things to a level that's raising the bar as far as we're concerned.
Pushing boundaries, as you always say.
It is pushing boundaries, and of course we weren't fazed by the fact that we were going to be challenged, we were going to be checked, we were going to be absolutely.
You probably quite relished that, knowing you.
Yeah, we did. I mean, to be interrogated the way that we are checked is something that helps us hold our heads up with pride, and we want to win even more points on the next audit, and it's all about sort of it's continual improvement really, but it's not a rollover. You've got to be dedicated, you've got to make commitment here.
And there wasn't, in the early days, there wasn't for commercial painting contractors, there wasn't an accreditation.
What benefit would you say when you're talking to clients and you're pricing a job or pitching for a job when they know that you're a contract partner with Dulux?
Well, we make it very clear that Dulux are our paint partner of choice, and that means for us being able to put forward proposals to the client that are dovetailing, if you like, the specification advice that Dulux have put in already, and making sure that that's refined from a contracting point of view, because it's about how we deliver that. We're looking at sustainability, we're looking at things like VOCs, making sure that we're choosing the right products, making sure that we've got the right recycling approach in terms of the paint and the way that we manage that on site. I mean, you know, gone are the days where people could wash brushes and rollers out at sinks and it affects the water course. Those things now are, you know, locked up in prison. This is serious stuff. We've got to be absolutely responsible. That gives our clients the assurance that we know exactly what we're doing and we're putting forward a fit for purpose offering that is, you know, for me, standout.
So Duncan, for you then, when you're looking at companies that want to get involved, is becoming a contract partner almost the top rung of the ladder? Are there various stepping stones to get there?
I think it is the top rung of the ladder. It's not easy. It's a process that can take time. Normally when contractors make their first application to be a contract partner, they're not going to get through, but the assessor will come back with a series of suggestions on how to improve certain elements of a contractor's business. They may take time to incorporate, could be 6 months, it could be a year, but then it needs to have a robust, it needs to have rigour, it needs to be based on something, otherwise it's, you know, it's superficial.
Yeah. Yeah, and Danny, are there sort of annual checks? Do you have to?
Yeah, so there's an annual audit, definitely. We have head office visits, we have site visits.
So that's quite a big thing then.
Oh yeah, no, it's as big as the ISO audits that we have. And there's a number of schemes in construction, but this is definitely one, if you're in this area of work that we are, that is, you know, I think we talk about accreditation, but if you look at trades like electrical and plumbing, where there are proper accreditations, you can't change a plug without having a certificate. You can't work on a boiler without being gas safe. Anybody, unfortunately, can get a van and say they're a painter and decorator. And I think what Dulux have done is raise the bar by bringing the ability in for a contractor to sort of step up to the challenge of being really responsible and working together to give clients something that's certified. And it's a proper scheme. And of course, it's in depth, and it could, you know, these guys don't hold back. They genuinely want to see it's very independent and they are looking at everything.
Yeah.
And I just add that although we're talking about contract partnership, there is an accreditation for domestic decorators as well, which is called Select. So we're trying to, add professionalism or work with customers to champion professionalism right throughout, you know, from small painters and decorators right the way through to big contractors.
Yeah.
You can go through different steps. It's not about, I've got to go there. You can get into the scheme and the mindset of being accredited, if you like, in various ways.
Now, I know this Dulux relationship goes back a long way, because when we actually had our very first show here, we had Marianne, the creative director from Dulux, in the studio, and she was also...
Amazing lady to have here.
Yeah, she was instrumental in the design as well.
Yeah, she helped us with the whole set here.
She did, and we know colour's her thing.
Yeah, totally.
And we know there's been, of course, a huge amount of buzz around the colour of the year. So we decided to send the cameras down to find Marianne, who's going to be telling us a little bit about the Dulux Colour of the Year 2020. Take a look at this.
Colour is hugely important. And so in our aesthetics centre we have 10 people that are travelling the globe, going to all of the design shows and the tech shows and gathering together at what's the sort of vibe for the year ahead. So looking at lots of different architecture, design, social economic trends and distilling this into palettes that will capture a sense of what we need and what we want in the year ahead. Colour of the Year 2020 is Tranquil Dawn. It's an absolutely beautiful colour. It's a colour that sort of captures what we want and what we need in the decade ahead. So we want tranquility, we want peacefulness, we want to have that feeling of standing on top of a mountain and breathing fresh air and the endless possibilities of a new day. So it's the perfect colour for 2020. I was inspired to paint the picture behind me using the colours of one of the trend palettes for 2020, and the trend palette is called Meaning, and it's this sense of, I just was inspired and thought, oh, a dawn, a tranquil dawn, and the Meaning palette just spoke to me. So I got some testers out and had a little play, and there we are. One of the lovely things about Tranquil Dawn is it's a soft sage, misty green, and it's a colour that melts the walls away, so it connects the indoor and the outdoor spaces, and it is just like a misty morning. It's a colour that captures our need to be reconnected with nature, and it's also a receding colour, so when we put it on the walls it makes the space feel and look bigger. You find out about colour of the year, and you actually start to sort of almost method act it. So as you're moving towards it, you start to wear the colours, you start to get into the headspace, and then this sense of tranquility that the colour brings infuses my life. So I'm normally a very bouncy person, but I'm starting to take my time and think calmly and gather my thoughts before diving into things. So the colours made a big difference to that.
So, colour of the year is out there. Duncan, does this mean now there are people painting their living rooms as we speak with the trendy colour?
Absolutely, the world has changed. Certainly, we'll see a lot of inquiries, a lot of coverage in the press. We'll see a lot of designers coming to ask us about the colour of the year and starting to incorporate it in their colour schemes. Because it's not just colour of the year; it's all the cascading colour, related colour scheme information on the back of it.
So talking about colour of the year though, I mean this is planning ahead quite a few years, isn't it?
That's true. So we're looking at trends and how they're going to change and develop over a period of time. So planning for colour of the year 2021 has already started.
I mean, talking about looking far ahead and finding out what's going to be the thing that you need to do 4, 5, 6 years in time, you do that in all sorts of areas at Dulux, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And from my perspective, a key part of that is sustainability. So part of my role is to speak to customers, specifiers, contractors, and find out what might be required, bearing in mind the significant challenges we're facing, whether it be from a waste and materials efficiency perspective. What are the things that and products that are going to be required in 5, 10, 15 years' time? I mean, we kind of have two key waste issues. One is empty cans and the other is wasted paint. And I know cans, you've been very involved in can recycling.
Yeah, I think just as a case study, just to zoom in on a case study from a Lucas perspective, in 2018, the amount of paint that we used resulted in the number of cans if they were stood on top of each other, 98 times the height of the shard.
Wow.
98 shards of paint cans on top of each other, which is frightening.
That's a huge amount, Duncan, isn't it? And that's just from you guys over 1 year.
That was just in 2018 from a Lucas perspective. But one of the big things that we do with Dulux is a can recycling program. And of course that's packaging, and yes, it's being recycled and there's a responsible action being taken. But one of the case study projects that we worked on together, and this is where the collaboration works brilliantly, is that we were working on the amazing new Bloomberg headquarters in London for about 4 years, which I think was finished in late 2017. And we adopted a program there where we had no cans at all. We adopted these things called IBCs. It's a 1,000 litre tank, and it's a dispensary for paint, and it meant no paint cans on site at all. It was very lean in terms of efficiency because the guys were able to dispense paint from the bulk container as they needed it, so there was no waste. It absolutely transformed the way that we manage waste on that project. It helped that building achieve a score which I believe was BREEAM Excellent.
BREEAM Outstanding, wasn't it?
BREEAM Outstanding.
Yeah.
The world's most sustainable office. That was just a part we played together in helping to reduce environmental impact on that job. And of course, that's resulting in so many other things and innovations that Dulux are now working on in terms of how do we look at recycling, how do we look at removing packaging.
Here's a scary stat. So it's empty paint cans. They're, as an industry, over 100 million empty paint cans go to waste every year. how do we get our heads around that? That is in a massive,
Incredible.
It is.
Frightening.
a massive number.
Talking about, the little dregs of paint that are in the tins that everyone watching, I'm sure, has got 2 or 3 in the shed or the loft with about this much in.
Well, let's do a competition, shall we? What is the average number of half-used paint cans in people's garages and sheds?
6.
No.
I'm going to say 3.
17.
No way!
17.
17.
So between 17, and if I think about my shed, it's more than that. But yeah, that means that we end up with a huge lake of wasted paint, which is estimated to be around 40 to 50 million litres a year.
Which goes into landfill?
Well, a number of things happen with it. Some of it may get burnt for energy. Some of it may end up in landfill, which is not great. But it's a wasted resource. That's the thing that's really grating about it. So that is one of the things that we've been focusing on for the past 2 years. So we've recently got to the point of launching a clever product. It's the first example of this concept of circular economy. I'm not sure if you've come across. So we tend to be linear focused when we make stuff. After the Industrial Revolution, we take stuff out of the ground, we mix it together, we make stuff, people use it, and then people throw it away. And then if we can bend that sort of straight line round and start using the waste as a raw material, and then also bend the other curve round, which is, thinking about designing the product using waste, then that's what the circular economy idea is all about. So practically for us, that means that we are talking about our first Dulux. We'll have a look at it in a minute. Well, the first Dulux mat that is made from 35% recycled material. So
Brilliant.
35% of it comes from all those half-filled tins on people's shelves coming
What
back.
a fantastic way to use the
Great,
resource,
yeah.
though. That's brilliant.
Do you want to see
Come on,
it?
let's
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Let's see
definitely.
it. Is this an
Definitely.
exclusive?
This is an exclusive. Yeah. This is the first mainline product, which is what we called Evolve. So Dulux Trade Evolve Matte, only available in white to start with. So we need to sort of do it in small steps because we're learning an awful lot, particularly about how we that back end bit about how we get all the paint back and make sure that the waste paint is a consistent quality. So slight amount of re-engineering, but 35% recycled content.
And
Brilliant.
this is going to be a trade product to begin with.
It's a trade product, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably find the most demand coming from construction companies and sustainably focused architects when they're undertaking super sustainable projects or circular economy projects, which you see quite a lot, interestingly, in Holland and Belgium. They're a little bit more advanced on the circular economy than we are. So we now have a
This is
solution.
going to be massively interesting to our audience. And again, I think that whole education of the contract partner thing that we have means that we get this innovation brought to us that we can then cascade out to educate our audience and educate our clients and make them, really take on that responsibility of what they're trying to achieve with their assessments. I mean, when I look at the things like the WELL standard, and we've got BREEAM and LEED and things like that, these buildings have to score certain points, and this is going to help people really achieve that and be very responsible in the way that they're, polluting the planet, so to speak.
And everybody is starting to think along those lines more, whether from, the personal level of getting a reusable bottle or coffee cup. Now, I mean, Danny, when you were talking about filling up the buckets with paint rather than the tins, when people are now taking their containers to grocery shops for their grains rather than buying stuff in packaging.
Yeah, it's like the guys with the canisters with the water today.
Yeah.
They're not buying plastic bottles anymore. They're filling those up, and it's a bit like the painter going to the IBC time and time again with the same vessel rather than wasting all of that packaging.
Yeah.
So, there's loads of stuff that we can do here.
It's a very old-fashioned, the paint tin is sort of 200 years old. And painters have come to love it, they accept it, they know what it's going to do. But unfortunately, times have changed and we now have to think more innovatively about how we deliver our product. Until we get to the can of the future, there are can recycling schemes available, empty can recycling schemes available. It'd be great if there was more uptake. It's quite low at the moment. I think you recycle your cans, which is great.
And it's been going a while now. I mean, I remember using the can recycling program at Olympia when we did that back in 2007, 2008. So we're talking over 10 years now that this program's been at play. So it's a shame that it's not being taken up on a wider scale and people
So for people that aren't recycling their cans, that are sitting there thinking, well, actually, yeah, that's us, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
Well, it's very, very simple, very easy. A number of decorators, merchants have their can recycling scheme. We have a can recycling scheme through the Dulux Decorator Centres. It's free of charge. You can either take your empty cans back to the Dulux Decorator Centre, or if they're delivering paint to you, they'll come and pick your empties up when they drop paint off.
Perfect.
Duncan, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Really learnt a lot today, and hopefully everyone else did.
Now, there's also something new and high-tech and innovative for us here that people need to know about.
Yeah, it never stands still. We've got mylucashub.com. Save it to your phones. It's got all of the content in one place. We've made it very easy. Podcasts, behind the scenes, shows, bite size, it's all there. But of course, we still need everybody to keep subscribing and send in their comments.
And join us next time.
Definitely.
See you then.
Bye.